Good evening. Performance-enhancing drugs in athletics is an issue that has come to the surface more and more in recent years. Tonight, we discuss the effects steroids have on the world of sports. This is the Laker Connections Media Summit pregame show. To break down this issue, let me introduce our guest tonight, Sebastian Edmond, Matt Stone, and Oswego State Club baseball member, Alex Edinger. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us, Mike.
Now, we will start off with the most recent PED scandal in baseball, the biogenesis scandal, headlined by Alex Rodriguez and Ryan Braun. So, guys, we'll start off with how we'll kind of compare and contrast how Alex Rodriguez and Ryan Braun handled these situations. So, Sebastian, we'll start with you. Who's the winner and who's the loser?
It's tough to really pick a winner amongst these two. Ryan Braun dealt with his own personal cover-up, so to say, until he finally admitted his use, especially after he didn't get his suspension with the mishandling of his drug test. Alex Rodriguez is playing by the rules, so to say, in terms that he appealed his 211-game suspension, finished out the season. We're going to see how long he actually gets suspended for. He's probably going to be missing some time. I don't see either of them ever fully reaching back to the point of acceptance or popularity that they once held at a point in their career.
What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, Sebastian brings up a good point. In reality, the biggest losers are baseball and baseball fans, because obviously this took a lot of the best players out of the game, Braun and A-Rod. And Braun took the stance that, you know what, he was going to deny it until the end. And in the end, he obviously got away with it at first, but in the end, he was really at fault. He got caught. He obviously got the big suspension. So it's tough. I mean, when McGwire and Sosa were hitting 70 home runs, baseball was at its prime. Baseball was doing extremely well, and the popularity soared through the roof. And an interesting thing I found was, let's go back into the division series this year. We had a guy like Bartolo Colon, 50-game suspension this year, and then when he took the mound for Game 1 with Oakland Athletics, he got a rousing ovation from the Oakland A's. Then when Johnny Peralta on the Tigers comes up, batted over 300 this year, played very well for Detroit, the Oakland fans booed him mercifully. So can't have it both ways.
Absolutely.
I think Braun's the big loser, because Braun had more to lose from this steroid, allegation. A-Rod came out a few years ago and admitted to using PEDs in the past. This is kind of a reoccurrence for him. And to be frank, I think everybody's tired of Alex Rodriguez and the whole steroid issue. So Braun had the clean slate. He was the clean player, kind of a new life for the Brewers, and I think he really blew it.
The only thing, don't you think, Alex, that A-Rod's legacy was as maybe the greatest third baseman, if not the greatest baseball player ever to play? Braun's an all-star, maybe had some Hall of Fame talent, but A-Rod was already going down 600-plus home runs. Don't you think that because he was so great and he was a player that was going to go down as one of the greatest players in history, that he ended up losing a little more? His reputation suffered a little more?
I can see where you're making that argument, but Alex Rodriguez, to me, hasn't been a Hall of Fame player for 5 years. I mean, let's be honest. He had the potential with Seattle, almost a 40-40 season. Excuse me. He had unheard of talent, but he just went for the home runs and the numbers, and it just ruined him.
Let's take a look from the perspectives of the fans here. We had Ryan Braun, a guy who actually went out of his way to make phone calls to the season ticket holders, apologizing for his actions, had a public apology at Miller Park. So, but Alex Rodriguez, on the other hand, when he went into this whole kind of disclosure mode, if you will, he kind of separated himself from the group. He was taking his own car instead of the team bus. So from a fan's perspective, who do you respect more here, Braun or A-Rod?
I think
if anybody.
Once again, it's another tricky give-or-take situation. I think I'd have to respect Braun a little more, and I also feel that the fans would probably be a little more forgiving of Ryan Braun, considering that he took that time to call the season ticket holders. He, even though denied at first, did come out and apologize. And also just the notoriety of the player. Alex Rodriguez is almost this own personality, or A-Rod is almost its own personality outside of the person that is Alex Rodriguez, and A-Rod is this pariah that's just never going to recover from his association with the steroid scandal. Ryan Braun, on the other hand, I think in due time he'll be able to make peace.
No, I have to disagree with Sebastian, unfortunately. The way that Braun handled the situation, he took such a dynamic stance to say, I'm innocent, even calling Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers, asking him to put his faith and trust with him, and Braun denied to the end. Although there was speculation about Alex Rodriguez, he never fully came out and denied it the way that Braun did. So I'm not saying I agree with what A-Rod did. Obviously, both are in the wrong, and both really ruined baseball. Not just them too, but obviously the whole steroid era as a whole is a huge black eye for baseball. But the way that Braun did it, I thought he just took such an evil stance to say, I'm innocent and I'm going to prove the MLB wrong. And the MLB, when Braun was able to win the first litigation and move on, the MLB was on a mission. They were on basically a witch hunt to go out and get Braun, and they got their man.
Now, I'm taking this view only because of the fact that A-Rod also has more of a presence outside of the realm of baseball than Ryan Braun does. I think with that total of summation of people who aren't necessarily sports fans, Alex Rodriguez is going to be hated for a lot more other reasons, maybe not even just steroids as well.
Right. Any Yankee's going to be hated like that.
Now, another point, too, that kind of glossed over the media, it was brought up a little bit, was the fact that, believe it or not, Ryan Braun actually accused his accusers, if you will, of being anti-Semitic, which is, for me, looking back on that now, knowing that wasn't true, it's something that kind of got glossed over a little bit. But the media was all over A-Rod, all over him 24/7. If he made one bad decision or didn't shake a guy's hand, they were all over. But this kind of went unscathed or just kind of glossed over, if you will. How do you feel about that? We'll ask Alex.
Well, I think you have two completely different approaches to handling the entire situation. A-Rod's a seasoned pro. He's 37, 38 years old. He's been around the league a while. Braun is still relatively young, and he handled this situation like a younger person would, someone who's less mature. They deny it, think they're going to be able to get away with it, and when things start to fall apart on them, they don't really handle it in the best way. A-Rod has been very upfront and very private about the whole thing, a much more professional, still not exactly commendable manner of doing things, but much more professional than Braun.
Now, Alex, from an athlete's perspective here, because you are our athlete on the show tonight, how do you feel? I mean, I'm sure you're probably not, in favor of steroids, but how do you feel if it was you in that situation in the major leagues? How would you handle it?
Well, when you get people that are blessed with that much athletic ability on their own, and you see them trying to take advantage of things that they don't really need to take advantage of, it makes you angry. Because, many people would trade places with one of these major league players in a heartbeat and give anything to have that skill, that position, that wealth. And when you have people that, cheat other people out of it, it does kind of upset you a little bit.
Yeah, and guys, I have to say, the way that A-Rod handled it, how he had the sit-down interview with Peter Gammons, I think that's kind of the blueprint for future players, future All-Stars, that they come out and have some type of confession to make. That's the way you got to do it. You got to have a sit-down interview, whether it be a Bob Costas or Peter Gammons, like A-Rod did, instead of taking that denied stand. If you did it, you know what? Your best bet is to come out, and eventually you will be forgiven. We see a guy like Mark McGwire has been able to come into St. Louis, become the hitting coach of the Cardinals, and isn't heavily involved with the game still.
Now, we're going to take a quick break here, but when we return, we'll be breaking down this issue a little bit further, so stay with us right here on the Laker Connections Media Summit pregame show right here on WTOP 10.
The forest is precious. One careless act caused by people and its beauty could be gone for a lifetime. Protect our friends in the forest.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
The 2013 Louis B. O'Donnell Media Summit. Moderated by ESPN sports broadcaster and class of '87 Steve Levy. Coming to Waterman Theater November 6th. Stay connected by visiting mediasummit.org for updates.
Every night before the show, me and the guys, we like to loosen up a little bit. Blue, 42, hike! Every now and then, Dan likes to take it a little too far. But hey, the show's all about competition, so we'll take it.
Stupid Dan with stupid football and stupid running.
Hi, I'm CNN's Rob Marciano, and you're watching WTOP 10, your television station.
Attention students and faculty. Avery Rental Properties is now renting for the next school year. Avery accommodates all group sizes, small or large. Avery Rental Properties. Make our house your home. 24-hour maintenance, garbage removal, snow removal, and off-street parking. Avery Rental Properties, 315-343-5005.
I'm lucky. I get to do something I love. How many of you think homework is just as important as teamwork? I help keep kids in school. Good. And that's the name of the game. My name is LaDainian Thomason. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United.
Welcome back. We're going to dive right back into our discussion here of steroid use in sports. I'm joined once again by Sebastian Edmond, Matt Stone, and Alex Edinger. Guys, thanks again for coming tonight. Now, as we were saying before the break, we were talking about steroids in baseball, specifically A-Rod and Ryan Braun. Let's take a little more of a general look here. You can include these guys if you'd like, but you know, recently with the Hall of Fame class being put in and nobody from the quote steroid era being inducted in first ballot, how do you feel that these guys will move in and the steroid guys of kind of our generation, if you will, the 2010s, the 2005s, all the way up to current? How do you think they'll fare in the the Hall of Fame voting?
I think the tough part is going to be having to separate those that we know have definitely used it, those that could be assumed that steroids was a part of their career, and those that have been completely clean. Because like you brought up earlier, Alex, these athletes already have an amazing gift to be able to go out here and play the sport every single day, and these things that they're taking to enhance their skills is unfair when it's not something that's accessible or allowed for everybody else. I think it's going to be very tough for the baseball writers who vote in these athletes to be able to come to terms with their numbers probably don't reflect what their career should have been.
You know, Sebastian brings up a great point that it's going to be tough for the writers to differentiate what guys you did use, and obviously we'll be able to find out, and what guys are suspected users. You'll have a guy like, I mean, you're not going to accuse anyone, but you have a guy like an Albert Pujols. Nothing ever known, a guy like Miguel Cabrera. But just because of how good they are, a guy like Chris Davis this year who hit over 50 home runs, just because they do that, automatically, now there's suspicion. I guess it's rightfully so, because you know what? You never really know. We've seen guys, you know, go from 12 home runs to 50 home runs in a year. But the guys like A-Rod, the guys like Braun, none of those guys are going to get in. We've seen McGuire, we've seen Sosa, we've seen Bonds. These are guys with 600, 700 home runs. They're all not going to get in, and that's really the decision that all the baseball writers have made.
Now, is that unfortunate? We'll go to Alex on this one. Is that unfortunate, or is that how it should be? I mean, these guys did cheat. You know, should there be an asterisk in their name to go in the Hall of Fame? What do you think, in your opinion, should happen?
Well, you know, it's going to be a while before baseball and baseball fans are ready to forgive these steroid users. It's just really hard, to be honest, because I mean, you look at these numbers they put up. There's a cloud of speculation over all these people. Like, you see these fantastic numbers, and yes, every question is going to be: are they using? Are they not using? Have they found a way to cover it up? Have they not? So, in essence, you see clean and unclean players on paper, but in reality, no one really knows who's clean or unclean. So you can't really tell who's using or not.
Let's step aside and take kind of a different look, a more general look, if you will, in the world of sports in general. We've been talking a lot about baseball. Let's bring in some other sports. I know in cycling we've had some performance-enhancing drug issues, but really in football, in hockey, soccer, we really don't see a lot of steroid use being reported. I mean, we don't know if it's going on or just kind of flies under the radar. So we'll start with Sebastian here. Do you think steroid use is being overlooked in other sports, or does it merely just not exist?
I think it's a weird phenomenon that baseball seems to be the sport that is mainstream with this problem. The other sports, I'm not sure if it's maybe just a societal thing, like a mental thing amongst the group of players that are in these other sports, that they don't feel the need that they have to enhance their play or take anything that's illegal in their sport. I think that baseball has come out as the premier sport to fix all of these issues just by the off chance that it's maybe most convenient to these players. Maybe they're the ones that are the scapegoats, the dummies for all other major leagues around the world to not have this issue.
No, to me, baseball has been the biggest culprit just because it's the nature of the sport. I think the thing that we need to differentiate is it's performance-enhancing drugs versus HGH. So HGH is human growth hormone. We've seen guys in baseball, we've seen guys also in the NFL use, but performance-enhancing drugs, I mean, we need to be honest, it makes guys hit better. It increases power numbers. It keeps guys healthy. We saw a guy like Andy Pettit who said, hey, you know what? I'm going to use HGH. I only used it just so I could get back on the field. I was aging. So I think baseball is the main sport, and it's just the nature of a 162-game season where in the NFL, we only have 16 games. In other sports, we only have 81. So it's tough. I mean, this is a sport that you need to be healthy for a long season. You get injured a lot, so that's just the nature of the game.
Alex?
In some sports, like football, I think especially, I think there probably is some performance-enhancing drug use, but it's more covered up. Because football is a sport of such physicality that the bigger and stronger you are in football, the better you're going to be. And football players today are bigger, stronger, and faster than they've ever been before. And that may just be, human process, but performance-enhancing drugs are kind of suspect. And back to baseball, not all, drug suspensions are for PEDs per se. Miguel Tejada got suspended this year for using Adderall because it enhances your focus. So if you can argue it, a focus-enhancing drug enhances your play that much and warrants a 50-game suspension, it's interesting.
Now, quickly before we go to break here, just some final thoughts. Let's put this thing to rest here. Sebastian, we'll start with you.
I think this is something that just was going to be done. It's inevitable that this era came, and who knows if it's going to be a situation where it's come and gone, or if it's a lingering issue that's always going to be a part of the sport. The decision that the people in power have to make in regards to the Hall of Fame, suspensions, all this, they do not have an easy job ahead of them.
To me, the point that I brought up before with Peralta and Bartolo Colon, you know what? If I'm a Red Sox fan and David Ortiz hit a grand slam like he did against the Tigers in that Game 6 off and the one that Torrey Hunter almost caught, you know what? I'm going nuts. I'm a huge Red Sox fan, and you know what? It's a sad, sad day that we are applauding and we are cheering for guys that are known steroid users.
I think it's going to finally ultimately be up to the players whether to decide if this is going to be the end of the steroid year, if it's going to continue. Because, they're the ones making the ultimate choice whether to use performance-enhancing drugs or not. So when players come to terms with it, I think then we can finally put an end to the issue.
All right, thank you very much, guys. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have a full look at this week's Oswego State sports. This is the Laker Connections Media Summit pregame show.
I'm lucky. I get to do something I love. How many of you think homework is just as important as teamwork? I help keep kids in school. Good, and that's the name of the game. My name is LaDainian Tomlinson. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United.
We are the Tigers from Peg 885. And you are watching WTOP. Yeah!
Attention students and faculty. Avery Rental Properties is now renting for the next school year. Avery accommodates all group sizes, small or large. Avery Rental Properties. Make our house your home. 24-hour maintenance, garbage removal, snow removal, and off-street parking. Avery Rental Properties. 315-343-5005.
The 2013 Louis B. O'Donnell Media Summit. Moderated by ESPN sports broadcaster and class of '87 Steve Levy. Coming to Waterman Theater November 6th. Stay connected by visiting mediasummit.org for updates.
My husband! Where's my husband?
Stop.
What's she doing? 2,
She was a passenger. I was T-boned on the passenger side.
We just had some wine. I wasn't even drunk. I was just buzzed.
What? You were just buzzed? Well, so you didn't tell us that. In that case, she's just fine.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Really?
No, not really.
Buzz driving. Maybe we should stop acting like it's no big deal.
Welcome back to the Laker Connections Media Summit pregame show. Now, let's take a look at some highlights around Oswego State athletics.
The Oswego State men's soccer team 13 season.
The pink uniforms uniforms here in the 48th minute. Ryan Yurchek for Geneseo, putting one right past the Oswego goalie for a 1-0 Knights lead. Next, Harrison Reber firing one off a big pass, fires a header, but couldn't sneak it past the Geneseo goalie, still 1-0 Knights. Now to the 69th minute, after a big pass all the way down the wing, Paul Coelho, you can see there, drawing out the goalie from the box. Right there, Brandon Peters chipping it right past the diving Geneseo Knight to knot it up 1-1. They're loving that. Now to the 81st minute, Laker goalie Ty Lawson showing us why he deserves his Oswego State Player of the Week title. Look at those, a couple of beautiful saves here, and if that wasn't enough for you guys, how about another one? Unfortunately, no winner in this one. The final score, 1-1 in a tie for Oswego and Geneseo. Now, the Oswego State women's volleyball team was victorious last night on the road against SUNY IT, winning in straight sets. The Lady Lakers continue their winning ways as they improved to 18-11 on the season. 5 different Lakers had 5 kills, including Sabrina Sutton, who led the team with 9. Oswego will be in action tomorrow night at 5 p.m. against New Paltz, for SUNYAC pool play. Oswego is kicking off Family and Friends Weekend with a bang. On Saturday, October 26th at 7 p.m., the Oswego State men's hockey team will host the Lakers Showcase, which is an inter-squad scrimmage between the team. There will be 2 periods of hockey immediately followed by a skills competition. This will be the first look at the 2013 squad before they open regular season action against Fredonia. For tickets, stop by the Campus Center box office. Well, the Lakers field hockey team took on Nazareth College Wednesday night in a game that is now being described as the Mud Bowl. The Lakers managed 1 goal in each period as Rachel Johnson notched her team-leading 5th of the season, and first as Ashley Collins picked up goal number 4 in the second. Their defense stood their ground as goalie Precisa Paulos picked up 3 saves on her own in the shutout. The Lakers win moves them to 5-7 on the season. Well, we're going to take a quick break here. You're watching the Laker Connections Media Summit pregame show right here on WTOP 10.
Get your Smokey on. If you see someone in danger of starting a wildfire, step in and make a difference. Because 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Down 70-35, and the Cougars were getting smoked like a cheap cigar.
So what sets the Rundown apart from other newscasts is that it brings students together to voice their opinions on the world's most important political issues.
There seems to be just more events going on in 2012 than there were in previous years combined.
This nation is based on the foundation that we choose the government.
Do we use 1, 2, and 3? We work hard to bring you the most up-to-date, relevant coverage of the stories you should be following.
The country has now gone over the fiscal cliff.
Is gun control necessary? How much is too much?
Does it surprise you that it's taken this long to have a serious talk about gun control?
Students need to realize that this is the time when what's going on in Capitol Hill and around the world starts to affect them.
And really, the fate of the entire country is at hand here.
This is it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go camera 2.
Good evening and welcome to the Rundown. I'm Megan Roberts.
Attention students and faculty. Avery Rental Properties is now renting for the next school year. Avery accommodates all group sizes, small or large. Avery Rental Properties. Make our house your home. 24-hour maintenance, garbage removal, snow removal, and off-street parking. Avery Rental Properties. 315-343-5005.
Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Let's discuss this year's panel for the 9th annual Dr. Lewis B. O'Donnell Media Summit. This panel discussion will take place on Wednesday, November 6th at 3 p.m. in Waterman Theater. There will be a variety of discussions throughout the day. The schedule will be posted, and if you'd like more information, you can check out mediasummit.org. Last week, we looked at our moderator, Lou Borelli, and even spoke with him via Skype. And the week before, we looked at our moderator, now turned panelist, Steve Levy. This week, we will look at some of our other panelists joining us for the Media Summit, beginning with Ms. Donna Goldsmith. Donna graduated from Oswego State magna cum laude with a degree in communication studies and a minor in Spanish in 1982. She used to be the COO of WWE, but currently is the Managing Director of Operations of Lead Dog Marketing Group. Our second panelist is Jay Bieberman. Jay graduated from SUNY Oswego in 1989 and began his career on Good Morning America as a researcher. Since 1994, Bieberman has been the managing sports editor for Bloomberg Sports, leading sports coverage in the United States, Europe, and Asia. And last but certainly not least, our most local panelist, John Kutchko. The 1987 Oswego graduate has worked in the Rochester sports market since 1989 and has been able to cover all 4 of the Buffalo Bills Super Bowl appearances. He currently works at WROC as a sports anchor on Channel 8 in Rochester. Now joining me for the panel discussion, we have a very special guest, Media Summit Student Event Coordinator Marissa Sarbeck, and Matt Stone will join us again as well. Thanks for stopping by, guys.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
Well, let's just talk about some of these panelists. I know a lot of people are excited to see Steve Levy. Let's start off with Donna Goldsmith, the former COO of World Wrestling Entertainment. In 2009, voted the second most powerful woman in sports. So can you go into a little more detail on that?
Right. I think that Donna's really an exciting panelist for especially women, I think, just because she's going to be the only woman panelist this year. So this is going to take a new twist on that. A lot of the questions that we've been getting from students that they want to know about her is stuff like how is it to be, how did you get there in your position? You know, what are some of the steps you went through? What are some of the problems that you encountered, stuff like that. So I think she's going to be able to give us a different take on things than the men of the panel will. Not that we won't enjoy that too, but you know, it's very exciting to get a different perspective.
Now, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, Matt, if you could tell us a little bit about Jay Bieberman.
Yeah, Jay obviously has a lot of experience, not only in sports, but also in news. Obviously, this is a sports debate show, but Jay was able to work now working at Bloomberg News. So I think he's going to be able to give not only a sports look, but also the financial look to see the business of sports. So he's well-rounded in all aspects. So he'll be able to be a guy who can really facilitate the conversation. We'll be able to be a little different than Steve, a guy who obviously is an anchor, obviously has a lot of experience with sports hand-on. So Jay's really a panelist who he's covered in all areas. So he'll be definitely one.
And Marissa, very quickly before we end tonight, can you tell us just very briefly about John Kutchko?
Right, John is an anchor, sports anchor for WROC in Rochester, so I think he's going to bring more of a local feel on a smaller market than Steve Levy would. So you're going to get that national feel, and then you're going to get a local feel from a smaller market from John. So it's going to be just a different dynamic.
All right, well, thank you guys. Well, that will do it for us this week. We're all out of time. Come on out to the Dr. Lewis B. O'Donnell Media Summit on Wednesday, November 6th. I'd like to thank my guests tonight, Matt Stone, Sebastian Edmond, Alex Edinger, and Marissa Sarback. I am Mike Tanzini. Join us next week at 11 p.m. for our final installment of the Laker Connections Media Summit pregame show right here on WTOP 10. Good night, Oswego.
I'm lucky. I get to do something I love. How many of you think homework is just as important as teamwork? I help keep kids in school. Good, and that's the name of the game. My name is LaDainian Thomason. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United.
We are the Tigers from Pet 885. And you are watching WTOP. Yeah!
Attention students and faculty. Avery Rental Properties is now renting for the next school year. Avery accommodates all group sizes, small or large. Avery Rental Properties. Make our house your home. 24-hour maintenance, garbage removal, snow removal, and off-street parking. Avery Rental Properties. 315-343-5005.
The 2013 Lewis B. O'Donnell Media Summit. Moderated by ESPN sports broadcaster and class of '87 Steve Levy. Coming to Waterman Theater November 6th. Stay connected by visiting mediasummit.org for updates.
My husband! Where's my husband? Stop.
What's she doing? 2,
She was the passenger. I was deboned on the passenger side.
We just had some wine. I wasn't even drunk, I was just buzzed.
What? You were just buzzed. Well, so you didn't tell us that. In that case, she's just fine.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Really?
No, not really.
Buzz driving. Maybe we should stop acting like it's no big deal.